The interesting thing is that there's this very strong bidirectional relationship between sleep and neurodegeneration. So we know, for example, that more than 60% of older adults have trouble sleeping. That raises the risk of cognitive decline, dementia, Alzheimer's. But people who have Alzheimer's also have a lot of difficulty sleeping. So they're very tied. They raise the risk of having poor outcomes when you have Alzheimer's, and they raise your risk of getting to Alzheimer's sooner when you have poor sleep. So one of the interesting things is we know that people, when they don't sleep well, that their risk of cognitive decline or Alzheimer's is higher. But one of the things we never looked at is what aspect of sleep, not whether someone slept 6 hours or 5, but what their brain is doing during sleep. Because the important thing is that when we're sleeping, we have this idea that your brain is at rest, but it's really not. If you think of your brain as the one computer that will go for 80 years and never be reset or restarted, so your brain is very busy clearing a lot of the toxins that we know are associated with Alzheimer's, like amyloid beta, like tau. It also does a lot of the repair. It's repairing neurons, it's repairing synapses. So what we wanted to see was what aspects of sleep are most influential, what aspects of sleep are really affecting how people who have early Alzheimer's decline. And this is important also because one of the things we talk about a lot now is early detection. Sleep changes and some of these very fine changes could be some of the earliest clinical things that we can detect before the first cognitive symptoms. You might be able to see those changes 15 to 20 years before someone starts expressing some of the clinical symptoms that we associate with Alzheimer's. So we were looking at that, and the cool thing we found is that very specific aspects of what your brain does during sleep really predict well how quickly someone declines, or whether people will decline less quickly. They play kind of a protective role. They actually can help protect against some of the negative effects of things like fossilized tau, amyloid beta, and some of these other biomarkers. And that's also important because you can treat that. They're very modifiable. Sleep is one of the most modifiable lifestyle factors, but that sleep physiology, we have lots of ways of influencing it, and it opens up this great opportunity for something that's non-invasive. You can have measured it with a headband, you can measure it in the lab. You don't have to make holes in people, you don't have to take cerebral spinal fluid. It's non-invasive, it's accessible, so it brings this possibility to more people who may not be able to do it if they live in resource-constrained settings. And it could actually really influence their trajectory. It might help really preserve brain health for people for much longer than what we're currently able to do now. So mostly it's really these things called sleep spindles, and these are these little, they look almost like little, if you imagine a slinky that you've uncoiled, and what they are telling you is that a memory trace is being moved from your hippocampus to long-term storage, let's say, in different parts of your brain. But they're tied to lymphatic clearance also, and these other things called slow oscillations. It's basically all this electrical activity happening in your brain. And what we looked at is the two kinds of that activity, but also how they work together. And what we're finding more and more is that they have an important role. We know that they're vital for cognition. We know they're vital for mood, for affect, for neuroplasticity. But we're seeing more and more that they're actually vital for brain health, possibly for clearing these biomarkers and also helping to protect the brain from some of the worst effects of these biomarkers.